everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Georgia, I hope you're well. Today we are going to be doing my November wrap up, and yes, we are in a different location. I have finally moved house. I feel like for the past 12 videos I've been like, yeah, we're moving. I did loads of pre-filming and then never moved. So I'm currently sat filming this in the first week of December, and we officially moved on the end of November, and I am so happy, which means yes, we officially have the new library. I am sat in it right now. We are currently sat on the floor of the library. It's currently just empty bookshelves and lots of boxes on the floor. You are currently stood on my romance box, actually. Everything's a bit crazy at the moment, but I really needed to squeeze in filming my November wrap up, because if not, I think it's just gonna get lost. So I wanted to quickly sit down and film this with you guys now. November was actually a really interesting reading month because I didn't feel like at any point I could fully sit down and get lost in a book. I feel like I just had so much going on. Like I said, every week we were moving this week, so it was like packing stuff, unpacking stuff, and it was just a bit of a nightmare. So I never fully got immersed into any of my books. I only managed to pick up 7 books, but I did actually have 1 DNF, so I've finished 6 books in the month of November, which does mean I only actually read 3 books off of my November TBR. I did pick up a 4th, but it felt like too big of a fantasy type read that I just weren't concentrating enough to fully enjoy it. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to ruin it for myself because I'm not fully paying attention. So let's put this down, pick up something else, and then hopefully just get lost in a nice little easier read kind of book instead. So that's what I did. So I read 3 of the 6 off my TBR for November, which I feel like has been a bit of a running theme. I feel like I've only actually read 3 off my TBRs for the past 3 or 4 months. So I'm consistent if nothing else. But let's go through the 6 books I actually finished in the month of November. We have our monster. It is very much needed at the moment. We're also going to ignore the gross nails. They literally all broke, but 2 of them. I have 2 left. The rest are broken and chipped or have come off, and I've just decided that I'm not going to do them again until everything is done, everything is built and everything is moved, because they'll break and it'll just get me mad. So we're ignoring the nails. So the first book that I picked up in the month of November was Lightlark by Alex Astor. So this is book 1 in the Lightlark series, and this is actually a reread for me. So I read this book back in March of 2025, so this year, and I really enjoyed it then, and I've read it again because I wanted to pick up the rest of the series, and I couldn't fully remember what actually happened in this book, so I wanted to reread it so it was fresh in my mind, so I could pick up the rest of the series, including the novellas, and then get up to date with it, because I know that Crown Tide literally comes out this week, I think, as I'm filming this, or it has just come out already. I wanted to be sort of up to date with it all, so I picked up the first book in the Lightlark series at the beginning of November, and I still really enjoyed this. So Lightlark is a fantasy romance. It is a YA, but I would say it's technically sort of upper YA. I really enjoyed this one. It follows a main character, Isla, as she basically has to complete in these trials. So every 100 years, all the leaders of the 6 different realms have to compete in this centennial. The island of Lightlark arrives once every 500 years? No. So every 100 years, the island of Lightlark appears for only 100 days to host a deadly game. So the 6 sort of realm leaders compete in these sort of deadly games for an opportunity to break their curse. So everybody has a curse and sort of a magic system. So it does talk you through them right at the beginning of the book. So just to give you a quick little thing. So wildlings must eat human hearts to survive and kill anyone they fall in love with, but their power is they can control nature and affinity with animals. Starlings all die at 25, but their power, they can harness energy from the stars and perform telekinesis. Skylines have lost the ability to fly, thousands fell to their deaths from the sky, but their power is the control of wind and weather. So each realm, I'll not go through them all, has a power and a curse, and if you win these trials, you have the opportunity to break them. So to break them and save themselves and their realms, one ruler must die. So it's we basically follow Isla through these deadly games. There's a lot of betrayal, there's a lot of sort of these friendships forming that don't always plan out and things like that, and it's just really interesting. There's definitely a lot of betrayal and backstabbing in this, and there's also a lovely little romance throughout as well. It does sort of set up this lovely little love triangle that I think is really interesting. I am very set on one side, but I know a lot of people that are on the other, and it's definitely a pretty even split from the people I've spoken to about this book, but I really enjoyed this one. I ended up rating it a 3.5 star in the end. I then picked up The Nightingale by Kristen Hannah. Unfortunately, I did end up DNFing this book. I do think it was just sort of a wrong time sort of situation. I don't really do war things, if I'm honest. I don't really watch war films. I don't tend to read about war and things like that. So this was massively out of my comfort zone. but it's been recommended to me so many times. So I DNF'd this at page 142. So I did give it a good go, if you ask me, and I have just soft DNF'd this. So I was on chapter 14 when I put this down, so I was probably like a third of the way in. But I just think it was the wrong time sort of book. I do want to pick this back up at some point. I do want to give this another go, but I just feel like at the moment this isn't something that I want to be reading. I had a lot of stress when I picked this up, and I just don't think it was the right sort of time. So I do want to pick this up again in the future. I am soft DNFing it. I'm going to leave it on my bookshelves, and hopefully give it a couple of months, I'll be in a better place to sort of pick up something like this. Now, I can see sort of why a lot of people are enjoying this and why a lot of people are loving it. I'm not a massive fan of the writing itself. I think it was quite flowery, which I can sometimes find a little bit annoying. That instead of just going to a diner, they've gone to a diner and this wall's blue and this wall's pink and the tablecloths are this colour, and like I quite like to just leave it a bit to the imagination and just feel like it sort of bumps it out quite a lot, and it just means there's a lot of extra stuff to read where there doesn't need to be that much information. But that's just a personal preference. But I do, like I said, I do want to pick this up again. I do want to give this another go, but unfortunately at the moment this is a DNF for me. Following that, I then picked up First Time Caller by B.K. Borison, and I loved this book so much. Like, so much. So I picked this up quite early on in November, and I devoured it. I just think it was such a fun, flirty, easy read, which was exactly what I needed at the time. I have since bought every single book she's written. Her entire Love Light series is in one of these boxes. I also have Good Spirits by this author, so I officially own every book that she has ever written, and I plan on reading those very soon because I just think her writing style is so fun and so easy. I really love the mix of like the flirty banter that the characters have alongside the sort of like more difficult topics that run throughout the books. It's first person perspective, dual POV, which if you know me is my perfect setup, and this was just exactly what I needed at the time. I have rated this 5 stars. I am obsessed. If you know any other writers that are very similar to this sort of setup and that have the same sort of banter and sarcasm and things like that that are in these books, then please let me know. Please let me know, because I just love this read so much, and I love this author's writing, and I would love some more things like this. And it also has really pretty spread edges. This is the works version, and I just think it's stunning. So 5 star in the month of November. I devoured this book. It was so much fun. The next book I read in the month of November is Twisted Lies by Anna Huang. Now this is book 4 in the Twisted series. I've had sort of quite mixed feelings through this series, but for the most part I have enjoyed them. So like book 1 I rated 4. Book 2 I rated 2, I think. Book 3 I rated, was it 4 again? And then this one I have rated 4. So it has been overall a very good series. I just weren't a massive fan of book 2. But this one follows our main characters Christian and Stella. This one is the one that's sort of been brewing for a while now. So we meet Christian in book 2. He's the main guy in book 2, Reese's old boss. And he also owns the apartment building that Jules and Stella moved into in book 3. So we've kind of seen him in the background. He's been this really mysterious character, and in this he sort of we sort of figure out who he is and what he's got going on, sort of thing. Christian is this sort of like hotshot security business owner. So he owns Harper Securities, which is his own company. And then we have Stella, who is this sort of like big social media presence. She's really into her fashion, things like that. This book, and sort of like a bit of a common theme throughout this entire series, is that like all 4 books have this sort of like underlying quite dark topics throughout. So like this one we have a lot of talk on like stalkers. In some of the other books there's some on like abuse, things like that. So each of the books do have really dark topics running throughout them, but then you also have these really intense, spicy romances as well. I really enjoyed this one. I think it was a lot of fun. Fun might not be the right word, but I do like it. And the twist at the end I also really enjoyed. The third act conflict didn't annoy me too much. I feel like it kind of needed to happen the way it did, but equally there were also sort of like 2 big third act issues. One I sort of saw coming, the other one I definitely did not. But I really enjoyed this one. I think it was a lot of fun, and I have now finished this series, which is actually quite bittersweet because I have really enjoyed these. I've read all 4 of them this year, I believe. I might be wrong in that. But I have really enjoyed these. I'm looking forward to starting some of the other series. I think I'm going to move on to the King of Sin series now and give that a go. I've heard sort of mixed things about those, but I've also heard mixed things about these, and I've enjoyed these, so I'm hoping I'll enjoy her other series as well. The next book I picked up in the month of November is Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber, and I actually got this as my scavenger hunt read, and honestly I don't think I'd have picked it up anytime soon without doing the scavenger hunt, which is why scavenger hunts are always a good idea and a good fun. The sort of setup for this one is our main character Evangeline makes a deal with the Prince of Hearts. Now the Prince of Hearts will do this deal for her in exchange for 3 kisses of his sort of time and choosing. It's a very interesting story. I really like the portrayal. I like the magic system. I think that was really unique and quite fun. We have fates, we have vampires, we have lots of different sort of like magical beings. and I do think this was a really interesting setup. I am looking forward to getting into the rest of this series. I do think this is one that I will be carrying on with. I think it was fun and easy enough. It is written in third person, which I'm not a massive fan of. I much prefer first person perspective, so I do feel like that has lowered the rating for me a little bit, but that is just a personal preference thing. I do struggle to get into third person sometimes, but I do think this one was a lot of fun. The twists and turns, the betrayal, everything going on was very interesting. I was definitely hooked. I did rate this one 3 stars in the end. It was fun, it was enjoyable, nothing sort of like mind-blowing, but I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how this goes. Like, the twist at the end was really interesting. I really enjoyed that, and I'm looking forward to seeing how this all sort of gets wrapped up and continues on in the story. So I do think this one is going to be a very fun series that I definitely pick back up. Maybe not immediately, but I am trying to get a little bit better with actually finishing series that I'm already in the middle of. It's definitely going to be a goal going forward into 2026 as well. I have my series tracker. I'm going to try and keep that under 25 at all times, but we'll go through my goals in a separate video. All in all, I did enjoy this one. Nothing mind-blowing that's going to stick with me forever, but I definitely had a fun time while I was reading it. If you want my full thoughts and feelings on this, I have got a separate video up for this scavenger hunt, so you can have more in-depth sort of like thoughts and reactions as I read this there. But all in all, 3 stars, I did enjoy it. The next book I picked up in the month of November is The Frontrunner by Elsie Silver. Now this is book 3 in the Gold Rush Ranch series. I got there eventually. So this one follows our main character Stefan and Mira. So Stefan is a character that we have been hating on through books 1 and 2. We sort of get a lot more of his story in this one, which I really enjoyed. I hated Stefan. I was a bit sort of nervous going into this, but I did end up really enjoying this one. So our main character Mira is sort of like the vet for Ruby Creek in general, but is based at Gold Rush Ranch. So Stefan is one of like the rival horse racing people. So they do have a lot of sort of like conflicting friends and things like that. So like all the people at Gold Rush Ranch sort of hate Stefan, and Stefan isn't exactly a big fan of Gold Rush Ranch either. Mira's sort of caught in this really awkward middle ground. She wants to make her own decisions on if she likes him or not, but her friends are so pressing on their thoughts and feelings of him. So this one does sort of follow both our main characters as they care for this baby horse. So the baby's mum dies giving birth to the baby. There is a mum horse at Stefan's ranch that recently lost their baby, so they kind of make a deal to put the baby with the mum, so to sort of like help keep both alive, if that makes sense. So these books definitely follow more of like the ranch life, whereas, and like the horses and things like that, whereas I'd say Elsie Silver's other series, Chestnut Springs, is more about the sort of like family side of ranch life, whereas this is definitely more about the horses and that sort of stuff. So obviously having our main female character Mira as the vet, we get that side of it as well, and I do think it's all very interesting, and I really enjoy that aspect of it. So in this one we follow both of these characters getting attached to this baby horse and the mum, and seeing how they sort of like get on. They're both around those a lot, so there's a lot of like time spent together and things, so they do definitely have those feelings sort of growing. This book is super spicy. I did really enjoy it, and this is probably my favourite in this series so far. So this does set up book 4 really nicely. So I think book 4 is a false start, and I think that's going to follow Stefan's sister, which I think is really interesting. We're kind of moving it a little bit away from Gold Rush Ranch to sort of Stefan's ranch, but I don't know how that's going to work with his sister and things, and I think it's going to be a really nice end to the story. So this is book 3 of 4. So I'm nearly at the end of this series as well, but I have really enjoyed these. I love a good country romance, so all in all, a really good time. And I did rate this 4.5 stars in the end. Definitely an enjoyable one. And then the last book that I finished in the month of November is Nightbane by Alex Astor. So this is book 2 in the Lightlark series. This picks up immediately from the end of Lightlark. We definitely follow sort of one side of the love triangle in this, but then there's a big twist at the end that I'm really looking forward to seeing the outcome of. So again, I rated this one about 3.5 stars. I'd say I'd like this about on par with book 1. I've seen a lot of things of people either loving book 1 and enjoying book 2, or like enjoying book 1 but loving book 2. I would say I'm pretty evenly split with them. I enjoyed them both. I think they were really good fun, but I'm excited to see the next book. I think book 3 is going to cover the sort of side of the triangle that I prefer. This book here I don't think I enjoyed as much as I wanted to, because it's the side of the triangle that I'm not interested in. So I think that's going to have a big effect on my feelings on it, because I think the next book is going to follow the characters that I really want to be together. So I can't tell you much about this one without giving you any spoilers, but there's a big war, there's lots of fight scenes, there's lots of battling, there's a very big development on sort of like the power system in this as well, and I really enjoyed that aspect of it. But I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what happens in the next book. And then finally getting to the Grimm and Orem novella, because I think that's going to be very interesting. And then I've also heard now that book 4 that's come out in December is actually from all 3 POVs, which I think is going to be really interesting, because these ones are just from Isla's perspective. So book 2, I've rated 3.5 stars in the end. So they're the 7 books that I picked up in the month of November. Obviously I only finished 6 of them, but all in all I think I did have quite a fun reading month. I think it's definitely been quite enjoyable. I have picked my TBR for December and I am so excited for that. I've got some really fun Christmassy reads coming up, as well as just some really fun sort of different content in the month of December. We've got obviously the new library to build. I'm going to be setting up my new reading journal, which I'm so excited for. I'm really looking forward to getting back into journaling. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. So make sure you hit that subscribe button so you can see all the fun content that I've got coming up in the next sort of month. So I think it's going to be a very fun month content wise. That is everything for today's video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And as always, my social media, my Amazon, my Good Reads and my business email are all in the description bar below. The next video will definitely have a prettier background. This wall is not cutting it for me, but we will have the book set up for our next video, which I'm very excited for, or our next sit down video anyway. Obviously I've still got to build the library. Let me know what you read in the month of November, or if you've read any of the books that I've read this month, let me know what you thought on them. I always love hearing your guys' opinions on these books and what you thought. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you're well. Take care. Bye.